The great chamber stretched before them like a cathedral built for giants. Ambassador Hana walked beside Captain Deho, their boots clicking against the crystalline floor that reflected the lights of 1,000 worlds. Above them, representatives from 47 species floated, perched, or stood on platforms designed for their unique biologies. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime to convert chirps, growls, and frequency bursts into something resembling universal speech. Hana had made this walk 17 times in the past 3 years. Each time felt heavier than the last. "Remember," she whispered to Deho without moving her lips, "we need their support for the outer colonies." Deho said nothing. He simply watched with dark eyes that missed nothing, his military uniform crisp despite the long journey from human space. Behind them, Commander Yuri followed at a respectful distance, her hand never far from the ceremonial weapon at her side. It was purely symbolic. Real weapons were forbidden in the council chamber. High Chancellor Vexthor rose from his throne at the chamber's center. His reptilian body towered 12 feet high, scales gleaming with an oil-slick iridescence that spoke of his species' toxic biology. When he smiled, rows of crystalline teeth caught the light. "Ah, the humans have arrived," Vexthor announced. His voice boomed through the chamber. "Please, Ambassador Hana, present your petition." Several species chittered with amusement. Hana had learned to ignore it. She stepped forward, her tablet glowing with prepared statements. "Honored Council, humanity requests increased defensive platforms for our outer rim colonies. Long-range sensors have detected movement in deep space. We believe the Kryn swarm is migrating toward populated sectors." The chamber erupted with sounds that the translators rendered as laughter. The Kryn, a floating jellyfish creature, pulsed with bioluminescent mockery. "Those mindless insects? They have never threatened core worlds. Perhaps human sensors are simply malfunctioning," suggested a bird-like being from the upper galleries. "Their technology is quite primitive." More laughter. Hana felt Deho's presence beside her like a stone statue. Unmoved, unmoving. "Our sensors are functioning correctly," Hana continued, keeping her voice level. "We have tracked 17 hive ships entering the outer territories. If they continue on their current trajectory, then they will reach your little colonies," Vexthor interrupted. He leaned forward, his smile widening. "Tell me, Ambassador, why should this council divert resources to protect worlds inhabited by, how many, 2 million humans across all outer settlements?" 2.3 million, Deho said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken. The chamber fell silent, startled by his voice. Vexthor's eyes fixed on the captain. "Forgive me. 2.3 million. Do you know how many beings inhabit just the Velkari Empire?" He paused for effect. 47 billion. The council must think of the greater good. A mantis-like creature from the Velkari delegation clicked its mandibles in approval. "Humans are so fragile. You live such brief lives. Barely a century if you are lucky. You have no natural armor, no biological weapons, no telepathic abilities. What have you contributed to this council besides requests for help?" "We have shared our medical research," Hana said. "Our agricultural techniques have increased food production on 17 member worlds." Yes, Vexthor waved a clawed hand dismissively. "You are adequate farmers and doctors. But when the Kryn come, you want warriors and warships. Perhaps you should reconsider your settlements in dangerous regions." Commander Yuri's jaw clenched. Deho noticed but gave the slightest shake of his head. "Not yet. We are not asking for charity," Hana pressed. "We offer to pay for the defensive platforms. We simply need authorization to install them in border space under council jurisdiction." "And if we refuse?" asked the jellyfish creature. Hana hesitated. There was no good answer to that question. "Then we will defend ourselves with what we have," Deho said. This time the laughter was louder. Even some of the more sympathetic species joined in. "With what?" The Velkari commander stood on his platform, his exoskeleton glinting. "Your fleet of outdated cruisers? Your kinetic weapons that belong in a museum. Humans are amusing. You think because you discovered faster-than-light travel that you are warriors, but you are not. You are prey pretending to be predators." The chamber exploded with approval. Species hooted, chirped, and roared their agreement. Deho stood perfectly still. Hana watched him from the corner of her eye. She had worked with the captain for 2 years and had learned to read his moods. Right now his face was blank. That was when he was most dangerous. "The council's decision is made," Vexthor announced. "Your request for additional defenses is denied. Furthermore, We recommend you consolidate your outer colonies into more defensible core worlds. This session is concluded. The platforms began to move as representatives prepared to leave. Hana gathered her materials, defeat settling on her shoulders like a heavy coat. Ambassador, Vexthor called out as they turned to leave. A word of advice. Humanity has been part of this council for 15 years. Perhaps it is time you learned your place. Not every species is meant to expand across the stars. Some are meant to remain small. Hana wanted to respond, but Deho touched her elbow gently. They walked from the chamber in silence, Yuri following close behind. Only when they reached their ship did anyone speak. They will not help, Yuri said, her voice tight with anger. Even when the Kryn come? Even when our people die? I know, Hana replied. She felt tired. So very tired. Deho moved to the ship's observation window and stared out at the council station. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species docked at various ports. The station was a marvel of engineering, built by civilizations that had mastered space travel for thousands of years. Captain? Hana approached him carefully. What are you thinking? Deho was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. I am thinking about something my grandfather told me. He was a soldier in the old wars on Earth. He said that respect and fear are not the same thing, but both will keep you alive. He turned to face them. The council does not respect us. Perhaps that can change. How? Yuri asked. By teaching them what humans do best. What is that? Deho's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Something cold. We survive, and we remember. The ship detached from the station and began its journey back to human space. Behind them, the council continued its business, already forgetting about the brief interruption from the small, fragile species from Sol system. They would remember soon enough. In the depths of space, beyond the reach of council sensors, the Kryn swarm moved closer. 17 hive ships had become 32, and they were hungry. The colony of New Jeju bloomed like a green jewel against the black of space. From orbit, Captain Deho could see the agricultural domes spreading across the valleys, connected by transit tubes that glittered in the light of the system's twin suns. 40,000 people called this place home. Farmers mostly. Families who had left overcrowded Earth seeking open skies and honest work. He had been born on a colony just like this one. Sir, long-range sensors are picking up anomalies, Commander Yuri reported from her station. Multiple contacts entering the system from deep space. Deho moved to her console. The display showed 17 signatures, each one massive. His blood went cold. Kryn hive ships, he said quietly. Sound general alert. All civilians to shelters. Combat crews to stations. The alarm began its wail. On the surface, people stopped their work and looked up at the sky. They had practiced this drill 100 times. They moved quickly but without panic. Parents carrying children, neighbors helping the elderly. The colony had good people. Dr. Bora rushed onto the bridge, her tablet clutched against her chest. Captain, I need to get to the research station. My data on the Kryn is there. If they are really coming, Deho interrupted. You have 10 minutes. Commander Yuri, assign an escort. Bora ran from the bridge. Deho watched her go and wondered if he would see her again. In the engineering section, Tae-sung worked frantically at his station. The colony's defense grid was designed to handle pirates and small raiders. Not a full Kryn swarm. He rerouted power from non-essential systems, trying to squeeze every bit of energy into the shield generators and point defense weapons. This is not enough, he muttered. Not nearly enough. The Kryn ships appeared on visual sensors. They did not look like ships in the traditional sense. They looked like mountains of chitin and bone, grown rather than built. Millions of smaller creatures swarmed around them like flies around rotting meat. The lead hive ship was 3 kilometers long. Open a channel to the Galactic Council, Deho ordered. Emergency frequency. The communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Deho of the human colony New Jeju. We are under attack by Kryn forces. Requesting immediate military assistance. I repeat, we are under attack, Static answered him. Then a voice, bored and bureaucratic. Your request has been logged. The council will convene to discuss appropriate response measures. We need help now, Deho said, his voice hardening. Not a meeting. Not a discussion. We have 40,000 civilians here. The council will convene. Deho cut the channel. He looked at his crew. Young faces, most of them. Ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. All ships, this is Deho. Engage defensive pattern Delta, make every shot count. The human fleet was small. 2 frigates, 4 corvettes, and a dozen patrol craft. Against the Kryn swarm, they were gnats attacking a bear, but gnats with weapons. The first Kryn wave hit the outer defense grid. Smaller creatures, each one the size of a car, slammed into the energy barriers. Some died instantly, fried by the high-voltage fields. Others punched through, their hardened carapaces protecting them. Yuri led her fighter squadron into the gap. Her pilots flew like they were dancing, weaving between the Kryn creatures with precision born from countless hours of training. Their weapons tore through chitin and flesh. For every human fighter, dozens of Kryn died, but there were always more. On the surface, the first creatures reached the domes. They tore at the transparent aluminum with mandibles that could crush steel. The colonists huddled in shelters below ground, listening to the sounds of battle above them. Some prayed. Others simply held their loved ones close. Taesung managed to restore power to the secondary defense batteries. They lit up the sky with streams of tracer fire, creating a web of death. The Kryn died by the hundreds, then by the thousands. It was not enough. Dr. Bora made it to her research station and began downloading her data. Years of work studying Kryn biology, behavior patterns, communication methods. If she died today, at least this would survive. The download bar moved with agonizing slowness. Outside her window, she watched Kryn creatures landing on the dome above her. Daeho's frigate shuddered under repeated impacts. The shields were failing. One of the corvettes exploded in a ball of fire to his left. Another limped away, trailing atmosphere and bodies. "Sir, we have received responses to our distress call," the communications officer said. "The Council is sending help?" "No, sir. The Council is still in debating, but we have received messages from the Velkari Empire and 3 other species." "What do they say?" The officer hesitated. "They suggest we abandon the colony and retreat to core human space." The bridge went silent. Everyone heard it. Everyone understood what it meant. They were alone. Daeho took a breath. "Let it out slowly. Continue fighting. We will hold as long as we can. Begin evacuation procedures for all civilians." The next 72 hours became a blur of fire and death. The human defenders fought with everything they had. They used tactics that surprised the Kryn, ambushes and traps that killed far more than should have been possible. But the swarm was endless. Yuri's fighter took a hit. She managed to crash land on the surface rather than dying in space. She emerged from the wreckage, drew her sidearm, and kept fighting on foot. Taesung rigged the power cores to overload, creating bombs that took out entire clusters of Kryn. He lost his left arm when a creature broke through the engineering deck. He cauterized the wound himself and kept working. Bora transmitted her research data to every human ship in range before the Kryn broke into her station. She faced them with a scalpel in her hand. They found her body 3 days later, surrounded by dead Kryn. She had taken 7 of them with her. On the 3rd day, Daeho gave the order to retreat. Half the colonists were already dead. The survivors crowded onto transport ships that were never meant to carry so many people. The ships lifted off under heavy fire, some taking hits that killed hundreds. Daeho's frigate was the last to leave orbit. He watched New Jeju burn. The domes shattered. The fields that had grown food for 40,000 now hosted only death. "Sir," Yuri said softly. She had made it back to the ship, covered in blood and burns. "We should go." "Not yet," Daeho said. He deployed a network of stealth drones around the system, tiny sensors that would watch and record everything the Kryn did. "Now we go." The human fleet limped back to core space. They carried 23,000 survivors. 17,000 had died. 3 days after the battle ended, the Galactic Council finally convened. They debated for 6 hours before issuing a statement, expressing sympathy for human losses and recommending that humanity reconsider expansion into dangerous regions. Ambassador. Hana read the statement alone in her office. Then she composed a message to every human world, every ship, every station. The message was short. "The Council will not help us. We are alone. Prepare accordingly." That night, Captain Daeho sat in his quarters and watched the recordings from his stealth drones. He watched the Kryn feed on the colony. He watched them grow stronger, and he watched them turn toward the next inhabited system. He also noticed something that Dr. Bora had suspected. The Kryn were not mindless. They were coordinated, intelligent, guided. Deho made a list of every species that had laughed in the council chamber. Every species that had voted against helping humanity. Every species that had told them to abandon their people. He saved the list. 1 week later, Ambassador Hana walked into the council chamber one final time. She carried no tablets, no prepared speeches. She simply stood before the High Chancellor Vexthor and spoke 6 words. Humanity withdraws from the council. The chamber erupted in confusion. Vexthor raised his hands for silence. Ambassador, surely. We are done asking for help, Hana said. We are done begging for scraps. Humanity will defend itself. She turned and walked out. She did not look back. The council celebrated that night. They threw parties in their embassies, pleased that the annoying humans would finally be quiet. They made jokes about how humanity would not last another decade without council support. In human space, the lights went out. Every embassy closed. Every communication channel went silent. Every trade route shut down. Humanity pulled back into its own territory and locked the doors. The galaxy barely noticed. They were too busy laughing. 18 months. That was how long humanity remained silent. The first few weeks, the Galactic Council barely registered the change. Humans had always been quiet, always on the periphery. Their absence felt natural, expected even. Trade routes that had carried human agricultural products simply switched to other suppliers. Embassy buildings stood empty. No human ships appeared at council stations. By month 3, curiosity replaced indifference. Merchant vessels tried to enter human space and found the borders sealed. Automated defense platforms turned them away with polite but firm warnings. No exceptions. No explanations. By month 6, curiosity became concern. The Kryn swarm continued expanding, now threatening systems occupied by minor council species. These species appealed to the council for help. The council debated. The Kryn kept coming. We should contact the humans, suggested a junior diplomat from the Terrellian cluster. They warned us about this. High Chancellor Vexthor dismissed the idea with a wave of his claw. What could they possibly do? Their military is primitive. They are likely cowering behind their borders hoping the storm passes. But behind those borders, something else was happening. Admiral Deho stood in a shipyard that had not existed a year ago, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, hidden from sensors by layers of radiation and electromagnetic interference. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction. And it was building ships, not the old designs. Not the patrol craft and frigates that had died at New Jeju. These were something new. Commander Yuri walked beside him, her boots magnetic against the deck as they moved through the zero-gravity construction zone. Around them, thousands of workers swarmed over the skeletal frames of warships. The sound of cutting torches and hydraulic presses echoed through the vast space. The first batch will be ready in 3 weeks, Yuri reported. 40 destroyers, 15 cruisers, 3 carriers? The second wave is already in production. Deho nodded. And the ghost drive? Taesung says the tests are successful. We can mask our ship's signatures completely. To any sensor in the galaxy, we will not exist. They moved to a window overlooking the main assembly bay. A carrier took shape below them, its hull a dark matte color that seemed to absorb light. Weapons bristled from every surface. This was not a ship built for exploration or trade. This was a ship built for one purpose only: war. Across human space, every world had mobilized. Factories that once produced farming equipment now churned out ammunition. Scientists who had studied medicine turned their knowledge to biological warfare. Teachers became soldiers. Children learned to shoot before they learned algebra. It was total war, conducted in absolute silence. On Earth, in a laboratory deep beneath the surface, Dr. Bora worked. She had survived New Jeju, though barely. The burns on her arms would never fully heal. But her mind remained sharp, and her anger burned hotter than any flame. The Kryn communicate through pheromone signals, she explained to her research team. Complex chemical messages that coordinate their swarms. I have developed a synthetic agent that disrupts these signals. She held up a vial of clear liquid. It looked harmless. Once released into a Kryn hive ship, this will spread through their ventilation systems. Within hours, they will be unable to coordinate. They will attack each other. They will tear themselves apart. A younger scientist raised his hand nervously. Doctor, is this not biological warfare? The council treaties. The council abandoned us, Bora said flatly. They watched our people die. I do not care about their treaties. The room fell silent. No one argued with her. In another facility, Intelligence Officer Gina sat surrounded by holographic displays. Each one showed real-time data from the galaxy beyond human space. Spy satellites disguised as debris, listening posts hidden in asteroid fields, infiltration programs running silently on Council computer networks. We know everything, she told Admiral Deho during his weekly briefing. Troop movements, fleet positions, defensive capabilities. We know which species are strong and which are weak. We know their patrol routes, their communication protocols, their weapons specifications. She pulled up a star chart. Red markers indicated Kryn positions. Blue markers showed Council forces. Green markers showed human assets that no one else knew existed. The Council believes we have maybe 50 combat-capable ships. Gina continued. The actual number is 317, with more launching every week. They think we are afraid. They think we are hiding. We are hiding, Deho said, but not because we are afraid. Training facilities across human space ran 24 hours a day. Pilots learned to fly in conditions that would kill most species. Ground forces practiced combat in every environment imaginable. Desert, jungle, vacuum, underwater. In gravity so high it crushed bones. And in zero gravity where a wrong move meant death. The training was brutal. People died in accidents. Others washed out, unable to handle the pressure. But those who survived became something the galaxy had never seen before. Commander Yuri pushed her squadron harder than anyone. She made them fly asteroid fields at full speed with sensors disabled. She made them fight 3-on-1 scenarios where they were always outnumbered. She made them practice until their hands bled and their bodies collapsed from exhaustion. Again, she would say when they failed, the Kryn will not give you second chances. The Council will not show mercy. Again, her pilots hated her. They also worshipped her. Under her command, they became the best fighter squadron in human history. Engineer Tae-sung lost himself in his work. The prosthetic arm he wore now was better than his original, stronger, faster, more precise. He had rebuilt himself, just as humanity was rebuilding. The Ghost Drive was his masterpiece. It did not make ships invisible exactly. It made them undetectable. Sensors would slide past them like water off glass. Radar would show nothing. Thermal scanners would register only background radiation. We can park a fleet in orbit around their homeworlds and they would never know, he told Deho proudly. We could watch them sleep. Have we done that? Deho asked. Tae-sung smiled. It was not a kind smile. Would you like to see the footage? 12 months into the silence, the Galactic Council tried again to contact humanity. They sent a formal message requesting dialogue, offered trade agreements, even hinted at restoring humanity's council membership. The message went unanswered. They sent ambassadors to human border stations. The automated platforms told them politely to leave. They sent gifts. Returned unopened. They sent threats. Ignored completely. High Chancellor Vexthor called an emergency session. This is unacceptable. We are the Galactic Council. We do not tolerate defiance from inferior species. Perhaps we should send a military force, suggested the Velkari commander. Remind them of their place. The motion was debated. Some species argued against it. Others supported it. In the end, they decided to wait. Humanity would come crawling back eventually. All inferior species did. They were wrong. At 18 months, Admiral Deho gathered his senior staff in the war room of his flagship. The ship had no name yet. It would earn its name in battle. Around the table sat Commander Yuri, Engineer Tae-sung, Dr. Bo-ra, and Intelligence Officer Jinna. These were the people he trusted most. The people who had survived when others died. The people who had spent 18 months preparing for this moment. Report, Deho said simply. Yuri spoke first. All squadrons are combat ready. We have 10,000 pilots trained to the highest standard. Tae-sung went next. The fleet is complete. 342 ships, all equipped with Ghost Drive technology. Weapon systems tested and operational. Bo-ra added, the biological agent is ready for deployment. We have enough for every Kryn hive ship currently in known space, Jenna finished. We have complete intelligence on all targets. Kryn positions, council defenses, everything. We are ready. Deho looked at each of them. These people had given everything to reach this moment. They had sacrificed and suffered. They had earned what came next. The Kryn swarm has grown to 53 hive ships, he said. They are moving toward Council core worlds now. The species that laughed at us are dying. The council that abandoned us is begging for help. He stood and activated the holographic display. A battle plan materialized above the table. It was complex, brutal, and beautiful in its precision. "We are going to save them," Daiho said, "and then we are going to teach them a lesson they will never forget." "When do we begin?" Yuri asked. Daiho's expression remained calm, but his eyes held something that made even his trusted commanders uncomfortable. Now, across human space, 342 warships powered their engines, ghost drives activated, and humanity vanished from sensors. The galaxy had laughed at them for 18 months. Now it was time to listen to the silence. The Kryn swarm moved through space like a disease. 53 hive ships, each one kilometers long, each one carrying millions of smaller creatures. They had consumed 2 council colonies already. Billions dead. The survivors fled ahead of the swarm, desperate and terrified. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Again. They had been meeting constantly for weeks, debating and arguing while worlds burned. "We must consolidate our forces," High Chancellor Vexthor declared. "Pull back to defensive positions around the core worlds, and abandon the outer territories." The jellyfish ambassador pulsed with distress. "My people live there. Your people are already dead," the Velkari commander said bluntly. "We need to think practically." In the gallery above, diplomats from smaller species watched helplessly. They had no military power, no influence. They could only watch as the powerful species decided their fate. "What about the humans?" someone asked. "They fought the Kryn before." "Perhaps." "The humans are gone," Vexthor interrupted. "Hiding in their territory. They are useless to us now." He was wrong. At that exact moment, Admiral Daiho's fleet materialized in Kryn-occupied space. One moment the sensors showed nothing. The next moment 342 human warships surrounded the largest Kryn hive cluster. The Kryn never saw them coming. "All ships, execute Operation Silent Thunder," Daiho ordered. The human fleet struck like a hammer. Commander Yuri led the first wave. Her fighters screamed through space faster than the Kryn could react. They did not use traditional missiles or energy weapons. Instead, they released Dr. Bora's biological agent in aerosol form. The invisible clouds drifted into the hive ships through their organic vents and openings. Within minutes, the effect began. Kryn warriors started attacking each other. Drones turned on their queens. The precise coordination that made the swarm so deadly dissolved into chaos. The hive ships tore themselves apart from the inside. "It is working," Bora said from her station on Daiho's flagship. She watched the biological readings with satisfaction. Even better than projected. The human destroyers moved in next. Their weapons were not the kinetic cannons the Council had mocked. These were plasma accelerators, electromagnetic pulse generators, and fusion bombs. Each shot was calculated for maximum effect. A hive ship tried to launch its fighter swarms. Taesung's electronic warfare systems jammed their coordination signals. The Kryn fighters drifted uselessly in space, unable to receive commands. "Target the hive queens," Daiho commanded. "Cut off the head, the body dies." Captain Jaewon commanded the stealth carrier group. His ships had been positioned in Kryn space for 3 weeks, completely undetected. They had mapped every hive ship, identified every weakness, marked every critical system. Now they exploited that knowledge ruthlessly. "Launch all bombers," Jaewon ordered. Heavy bombers erupted from the carrier bays. They flew in tight formation, their hulls absorbing enemy fire that would have destroyed older ships. They reached the hive ships and released their payloads directly into the organic cores. The explosions were spectacular. One hive ship after another erupted in fire, their biological structures unable to withstand the thermal shock. On the ground forces side, Lieutenant Subin led special operations teams onto hive ships that were still partly functional. Her soldiers moved through the organic corridors wearing sealed suits, carrying flamethrowers and high explosive charges. "Remember," she told her teams, "we are not here to fight fair. We are here to win." They found alien survivors trapped in the hive ships, species that the Council had abandoned. Workers, families, civilians who had been taken by the Kryn but not yet processed into food. "Extract all survivors," Subin ordered. "No one gets left behind." Her soldiers carried out refugees from a dozen different species. Some could barely walk. Others were traumatized beyond reason. The humans treated them all with care, gave them food and water, transported them to safety. One elderly alien, a bird-like creature from a species Subin did not recognize, grabbed her arm with a trembling wing. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you help us? The council did nothing for you." Subin looked at him through her helmet visor. "Because it is the right thing to do." The battle lasted 72 hours. When it ended, 47 Kryn hive ships were destroyed. The remaining 6 fled into deep space, broken and scattered. Human casualties, 233 killed, 600 wounded. A miracle considering the scale of the battle. The council received the news in stunned silence. Someone had defeated the Kryn, but who? The answer came 3 days later. Human ships appeared at the borders of the Velkari Empire. Just appeared without warning, without being detected. An entire battle group materialized in orbit around their primary military station. The Velkari scrambled their defenses. Alarms screamed. Weapons charged. Then they received a message. It was audio only. No video, just a voice they recognized. "Admiral Deho, you laughed." That was all he said. 2 words. Then the human ships opened fire. They did not target population centers. They did not attack civilian infrastructure. They systematically destroyed 3 military stations, each one a hub of Velkari military power. The stations had shields, point defense systems, and defensive fleets. None of it mattered. The human weapons tore through the defenses like paper. The stations exploded in sequence, their destruction timed with mathematical precision. Thousands of military personnel died. Not a single civilian was harmed. The human fleet vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. If humans could destroy Velkari military stations undetected, what else could they do? Intelligence Officer Gina transmitted a single message to every council species simultaneously. It was a star chart showing human ship positions. The green markers were everywhere. Around every major homeworld, near every military installation, in every strategic system, the humans had been watching. For months, they could have attacked at any time. They could have destroyed anyone they wanted. The message that accompanied the chart was simple. "We see everything." Captain J. Wan's stealth carriers remained in position around council worlds. Not threatening, just watching. Present, a constant reminder that humanity could strike whenever they wished. High Chancellor Vexthor sat in his private chambers, staring at the reports. His hands trembled. For the first time in his long life, he felt genuine fear. The humans had not conquered anyone. They had not occupied worlds or demanded tribute. They had simply demonstrated what they were capable of. And it was devastating. A message arrived on his personal terminal, eyes only, maximum security, from Admiral Deho. It contained 2 attachments. The first was a video recording from New Jeju. The colony burning. People dying. The human defense forces fighting desperately while no help came. The timestamp showed the date humans had requested council assistance. The second attachment was a list. Every species that had voted against helping humanity. Every delegate who had laughed. Every commander who had called humans weak. The message itself was brief. "We have not forgotten. We have not forgiven. We have simply decided that your death served no purpose. Yet." Vexthor read it 3 times. Then he erased it and sat in darkness thinking about what he had done. The smaller species, the ones humanity had rescued from the Kryn, began talking. Stories spread through the galaxy. Stories of human soldiers who had risked their lives to save aliens. Of human doctors treating the wounded without asking for payment. Of human ships defending council worlds that had abandoned them. "They are not monsters," one survivor said in an interview that was broadcast across every network. "They are angry. They have earned the right to be angry, but they are still saving people." Ambassador Hana received a message from the council requesting her immediate return, requesting negotiation, requesting peace. She read the message and smiled without humor. Then she began composing her response. Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the stars. Around him, his officers worked quietly, efficiently. These were people who had been dismissed as primitive, as weak. As useless, they had proven everyone wrong. "Sir," Commander Yuri approached. "We are receiving surrender offers from multiple Kryn groups. The swarm is fractured. They are fighting each other now." "Good," Deho said. "Establish a quarantine zone. Any Kryn ship that leaves it gets destroyed. Any that stays gets contained. And the council?" Deho turned to look at her. "Now we talk. But this time, we talk from a position of strength. Will you forgive them? It was a question that had no easy answer. Daeho thought about New Jeju, about the 17,000 dead, about the months of mockery and dismissal. Forgiveness is not the same as forgetting, he said finally. They will learn that lesson. Across the galaxy, the Council prepared for humanity's return. This time there would be no laughter. This time there would be respect, whether they wanted to give it or not. The Galactic Council chamber looked the same as it had 2 years ago. The same crystalline floors, the same floating platforms, the same arrangement of species from across known space. But everything had changed. Ambassador Hana walked through the entrance with Admiral Daeho at her side. This time she did not walk with her head down. This time she did not carry tablets full of requests and petitions. This time, Commander Yuri followed behind them with a squad of human soldiers in full combat armor. The chamber fell silent as they entered. High Chancellor Vexthor stood to greet them. His movements were careful, measured. He no longer towered over the humans with casual arrogance. He stood at their level, equal platform to equal platform. Ambassador Hana, Admiral Daeho, welcome back to the Council, Vexthor said. His voice lacked its former condescension. We have much to discuss. Yes, Hana agreed. We do. She moved to the center of the chamber. Every representative watched her, some with fear, some with respect, some with barely concealed anger. She met all their eyes without flinching. 2 years ago, I stood here and asked for help, Hana began. Her voice carried through the chamber without amplification. I warned you about the Kryn swarm. I asked for defensive platforms to protect our colonies. Do you remember what you did? The chamber remained silent. Everyone remembered. You laughed, Hana continued. You called us primitive, weak, useless. You told us to abandon our people and retreat to safer space. When we came begging for help, you debated for 3 days while our people died. Vexthor shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador, we acknowledge that mistakes were. 17,000 humans died at New Jeju, Hana interrupted. Her voice was steady, but everyone could hear the steel beneath it. 17,000 people who trusted the Council to honor its obligations. Men, women, children, farmers and teachers and doctors, all dead because you could not be bothered to help. She paused, letting the words sink in. But we did not come here for an apology. We came here to establish new terms. Terms? The Velkari commander spoke up, his mandibles clicking with irritation. You cannot dictate terms to the Council. You are nothing, Admiral Daeho said quietly. The words cut through the chamber like a blade. The Velkari commander started to respond, but Daeho continued. You are nothing without your military stations, which we destroyed in under an hour. You are nothing without your defenses, which we bypassed without effort. You are nothing without your intelligence networks, which we infiltrated months ago. He activated a holographic display. It showed footage from human stealth ships, images of Council species going about their daily lives, completely unaware they were being watched. Military briefings, private conversations, secret meetings. We have watched you sleep, Daeho said. We have listened to your conversations. We have mapped every ship, every station, every defensive position. We know your strengths and your weaknesses. All of them. The chamber erupted in outrage and fear. Representatives shouted over each other. Some demanded that the humans leave. Others called for their arrest. Vexthor raised his hands for silence. It took several minutes for order to return. This is unacceptable, Vexthor said, though his voice lacked conviction. You have violated every protocol, every treaty. Every treaty you violated first when you abandoned us, Hana countered. The Council Charter requires member species to provide mutual aid in cases of existential threat. You failed to uphold that obligation. By your own laws, the treaties are void. A smaller species, one that humanity had rescued from the Kryn, spoke up hesitantly. The humans saved my people. They did not have to. No one asked them to. But they came anyway. They risked their lives for us. Another voice joined in. Then another. Species that had been rescued, protected, or aided by human forces began speaking up. Not all of them, but enough. Vexthor listened to it all, his expression unreadable. Finally he spoke. What are your terms? Hana pulled up a document. First, humanity will be granted a permanent senior position on the Council with full veto authority over military actions. Second, the outer territories will be placed under joint human council governance. Third, All species will have access to human defensive technology, shared freely on the condition of mutual defense treaties. You would share your technology? The jellyfish ambassador pulsed with surprise. Even after everything? We are not monsters, Hana said. We were hurt. We were angry. We still are. But we believe the galaxy is safer when we work together. The Kryn proved that. You needed us as much as we needed you. And if we refuse? The Velkari commander asked. Admiral Deho smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then we leave you to face the next threat alone. And there will be a next threat. There always is. The council debated for hours. Arguments flew back and forth. Some species supported the human demands. Others resisted. But in the end, reality could not be ignored. Humanity had demonstrated overwhelming military capability. They had defeated the Kryn swarm in days when the council could not defeat them in months. They had surgical strike capabilities that no one could defend against. More importantly, they had shown they could be trusted. They had rescued civilians. They had shared medical supplies. They had protected worlds that had abandoned them. The vote was called. By a margin of 32-15, the council accepted humanity's terms. High Chancellor Vexthor approached Hana and Deho after the session ended. I owe you an apology, he said quietly. A personal one, separate from the council's official statement. I underestimated your species. I mocked you when you needed help. I was wrong. Deho studied him for a long moment. Do you know what my grandfather told me? He said that respect and fear are not the same thing, but both will keep you alive. You have earned both, Vexthor admitted. We never wanted fear, Hana said. We wanted to be heard. We wanted to be valued as equals. You made that impossible, so we had to teach you what we were capable of. And now? Vexthor asked. Now we rebuild, Deho said. Together. But if you ever abandon us again, if you ever dismiss human lives as worthless again, you will discover that our silence is far more terrible than our words. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed. Human military advisors began training council forces in new tactics. Commander Yuri established joint military academies where pilots from every species learned human combat doctrines. Adaptation, persistence, calculated aggression, the willingness to take risks that others would not. Her methods were harsh. Many failed. But those who graduated were among the best fighters in the galaxy. Engineer Taesung shared some technology with council species. Improved shield generators, better power distribution systems, enhanced medical equipment, but the ghost drive remained a human secret, a reminder that humanity still held cards they had not shown. Some things we keep for ourselves, Taesung explained to a disappointed alien engineer, not because we are selfish, but because power requires balance. We learned that lesson the hard way. Dr. Bora worked with council scientists to develop countermeasures for biological threats. She shared her knowledge freely, teaching others how to defend against organisms like the Kryn. But she also kept samples of her biological weapons. Just in case, trust but verify, she told her students. Hope for peace but prepare for war. The Kryn swarm's remnants remained in their quarantine zone, contained by a network of human defense stations. Any ship that tried to leave was destroyed immediately. The Kryn had learned their lesson as well. Admiral Deho established the Silent Vigil, a permanent human fleet that patrolled the darker regions of space. They watched for threats. They investigated anomalies. They ensured that nothing like the Kryn caught the galaxy by surprise again. His flagship finally received a name, New Jeju, a memorial to those who had died, a promise to those who survived. 1 year after humanity's return to the council, Ambassador Hana stood in the chamber during a routine session. The discussion concerned trade agreements, nothing dramatic. She watched the delegates debate with the kind of passion that usually led nowhere. Then something unusual happened. A border dispute arose between two minor species. Before it could escalate, both sides looked to the human delegation for mediation. Hana handled it quickly, fairly. Both species accepted her judgment without argument. Later, Vexthor approached her. You have become the voice of reason in this chamber. Strange how things change. Not so strange, Hana replied. We learned what it costs to be dismissed. We will not let that happen to others. Back on Earth in a small apartment, a young woman named Misun studied for her entrance exams to the military academy. She had been 8 years old when New Jeju fell. She had lost family there. She had spent years wondering why no one helped. Now she understood. The galaxy had not valued human lives. Her people had been forced to teach them otherwise. She would join the silent vigil. She would ensure that humanity never had to teach that lesson again. Admiral Day-Ho sat in his quarters aboard New Jeju, reviewing reports. The galaxy was safer now. Humanity was respected. The council functioned with humans as equal partners, but he did not forget. Could not forget. The list he had made 2 years ago still existed in his personal files. Every species that had laughed, every delegate who had voted against helping. He had not acted on it beyond the strike against the Velkari military stations.